Welcome back to the Milestone Moment, where we take top producing agents, ask them about their story, how they got into real estate, and when it all changed for them. Today, we have Ryan Gardner with the Joseph Group. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, how'd you get into real estate, or can you tell us about your background a little bit?
Yeah, no, thanks. So I never thought I'd be in real estate. I was actually in the military for 10 years and then came home, a couple tours, and decided I needed to do something. Got a degree, but then realized that I couldn't really sit still very well. Okay. So I became an electrician for 8 years. Yeah. And then it was actually during that time I got fairly good at it, and it got really repetitive. So I was just listening to books on tape, and Robert Kiyosaki's famous Rich Dad, Poor Dad is kind of the catalyst that kind of took me this direction.
I love that. An awesome background for real estate. I'm sure obviously going to houses, knowing a little bit about the construction side probably helps out a bit.
Totally. Yeah. No, I have quite a few clients that are adult family homeowners. And so being able to tell if a wall is structural or not has been invaluable for those relationships, and being able to help them kind of not only design it, but be able to see it, draw it out on paper, and help them figure out what they could do.
I love that. Well, and thank you for your service. What branch were you in, or tell us?
I was in the Army. Yeah, I was a medic for 6 years, and then I was infantry for 4, a couple tours to Iraq.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Wow. And were you stationed in this area, or what brought you to, or did you grow up in Washington?
Yeah, so I grew up here. Yeah. And then kind of did the whole travel with the military thing, and then came back afterwards. So, yeah.
I love that, man. That's quite the background. I did not realize that. Love it. And tell me about, obviously recently joined the Joseph Group, great office, camaraderie. Tell me a little bit about kind of your I guess, new endeavor with
so Ian Joseph, owner of the Joseph Group, my wife and I were actually coaching his oldest son in soccer for about the last 4.5, 5 years. And so that's where Ian and I met. And frankly, we did a really bad job of advertising our lives, because neither of us knew we were in real estate. And so anyway, Ian looked me up on LinkedIn. I was just looking for guys, and I was kind of ready for a change anyway. And so it was just really good timing, as well as just Ian's an awesome guy. He's got such a great, the culture there, always trying to, bring out the best in his people, always trying to keep top tier people in the team. And so it really matched a lot of the same value sets and goals that aligned.
I love that. And you've built up, quite a bit, reputationally, done a lot of transactions. Did you kind of secret sauce for clients? Like, what do you think kind of separates you and your business? Because super impressed by looking at your background. You've done quite a bit. So tell us about that.
I think it's a tough market, and I'm always learning. So I'm always like, am I doing this right? Yeah. I mean, frankly, I had a call with Ian today and was just like, hey man, I think we could tweak a couple things. How could I do this better? So always wanting to improve. So I think that's actually part of it, caring enough to adjust. Yeah. But also just, it's not a transactional business for me. Right. It's a people business. And a lot of times that means your therapy, the therapist, you're helping people through.
Feeling like a bartender over here, right?
Yeah. I wish I could just hand them, a beverage that would make it a little easier to take the information. So I think it really is just connecting with people where they are and seeing, reading people, understand what do you need? How can I help serve you? And then a lot of times it seems like real estate transactions get messy. And so my goal is to just try and be the one that settles the storm, that lighthouse. So when it gets messy, how can I be that solid rock for each side or whoever's involved, and help navigate the situation the best way possible.
I'm sure you have a personality for that. And speaking of people, I mean, your business is a bit unique. You work with more kind of investors, 1031 exchange. We've talked about, collaborating in some ways. Tell us about kind of how you got into the investor side of things, and or got interested in the exchanges, and how some of that works.
Yeah, well, I think real estate is just so powerful. Yeah. Frankly, when I first started, I probably could have built a business faster, but there's so many facets: commercial, multifamily, there's elements of commercial within that.
Where do I focus?
It's like, where am I going? This is so awesome. Yeah. And really my goal is always to just help people build wealth. And so whether that's a first-time home buyer, whether that's a move up or move down buyer, whatever that looks like, we're trying to help them build wealth. And with our investors, we're trying to help them go from, I own one door, to how do you have a portfolio? How do you become a business owner and let your real estate really feed your long-term goals. And so really want to take these investors that might be onesie twosie to be business-minded investors that have CPAs that can back them up, that can really take and springboard them into, long-term wealth, that's inheritance wealth, right?
Yeah.
That is legacy. So that's kind of, the vision I have for people, whether they're as gung-ho to do it as I am, remains to be seen sometimes.
Give them the path, and then they choose to,
absolutely
bring a horse can put him to water, but you can't force him to drink or whatever,
right?
Okay, got it. Love that. So tell me now, this is the premise of the show. It's the milestone moment. It's the moment that it all kind of changed for you in real estate, or when you knew real estate was for you. Is there a milestone moment, or a time that you noticed that this is it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my real estate agent that I bought a house with, he actually was like, "Hey, Ryan, you should do real estate." And I was like, "No way, not interested." And it was listening to that book. I remember where I was doing an electrical job in Shoreline, and it was like Robert Kiyosaki was just talking about ceilings, glass ceilings, and what it looked like to me was that real estate did not have a glass ceiling. I was a good electrician, but I kind of kept hitting a ceiling. Like you could only go so far, and then you had to become either a project manager or a superintendent. And with real estate, there's the ceiling's as limited as I am.
Love that.
And so that kind of opened up my eyes to say, all right, well, what could I do? As well as electrical is a great field, but I didn't really meet any new people. Right. Like we would go do a job, but I didn't get to build any relationships. And so real estate opened up the door for me to be like, man, now, I mean, I know so many ethnicities, people's stories of first-time American. I mean, it's just been an incredible journey to be able to get to meet the people and then become a part of their journey.
Right.
So that moment was probably that Robert Kiyosaki book in the tape, books on tape. And,
that's awesome. I love that. And then obviously kind of shaped you into the business that you have today, obviously. And tell me a little bit more about kind of how you structure your day. It sounds like you're a driven guy doing quite a bit. Like, how does that look these days with kind of the Joseph Group and intertwining your current model with what you've already built? Yeah.
So I've only been with the Joseph Group for a little over 3 months now. So I've had a lot to learn. And so I'm kind of working 2 different CRMs. A client base here, a client base here, and then trying to really make sure that I'm focusing the right amount of time on each one. And they're very different. Retail real estate is completely different than investor real estate. And so sharpening those investor tools and making sure that I'm not only navigating the conversations correctly, but making sure that they have what they need. So that's been awesome to explore that, and also be able to bring kind of a residential side or a retail side to that experience for those clients. That's awesome. Yeah, you got a kind of a large group that you can pick from, but it's huge. Just managing how to figure out the best way to kind of go about that. And I've worked with Ian in a lot of years for that. It's been the hard box to solve. So if you can figure it out, we're going to be grateful for you. So we're a good part through, I guess, halfway through 2026 at this point. You've gone through a transition in your business. Are there any new, like you mentioned, tools? Any new tools that you're kind of implementing, or a tool that you're taking that you're bringing to the Joseph Group, or finding one that they use? Or tell me about kind of anything that you I think everybody's on the AI journey right now. Like what's the right fit? Is it ChatGPT? Is it pick one, Gemini, all of these different things. And I think early on, when there was so much like, if you don't get on this AI train, you're going to be left behind. And I think that there's truth to that. And then I also think that the more technology we use, the more important a relationship becomes. And so we've seen that over Facebook and Instagram and all these media, sources, that really it comes down to relationship. Right. Adrian, you and I building a relationship, and how can we bless each other's businesses? How can we bless our clients? How can we take care of them? So I really kind of almost doubled down in that aspect and said, well, how can I make sure I'm hitting people's birthdays? How can I make sure that we're putting things in place that has a personal touch, not an AI touch? I've seen a huge shift, and I don't know if you noticed this, but recently, like the AI flyers and the stuff, and people just push back. They're just not like, oh, I can see that's AI, and they're not interested. And that's, I think, refreshing as well. Part of that too, right? It's like you sit in the background that nobody knows that you're doing some of it, but once you put it out there, I think people are like obviously just pulling back from there for sure. Yeah.
So we've got actually crazy enough, like 16,000 followers on this page.
No way.
A lot of which, are newer agents. Do you have any advice for a new agent or somebody maybe going through a transition or anything that you can kind of share with your experience?
So newer agent, I really enjoyed joining a team. I grew out of that team fast. However, the team aspect was so helpful in building a real estate career, and really trying to learn all of this on your own is super daunting. A lot of people don't like teams or they have different opinions. For me, the team experience was wonderful. And also it was wonderful to go out on my own. And so, but knowing how to build that foundation first, and then, in any sales, like this is my first sales, position, but, no is your friend. Right. And so just having the tenacity to go after no, because really it's all in the numbers. So every no is one step closer to a yes.
I love that.
And so if you can have the right mindset, you can accomplish anything.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Yeah, I think there's a book, Go for No. I don't remember the author. Have you seen that one? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So this market, as you know, we've also, spoke on that. Interesting to say the least. Obviously, there's Iran. There's all this uncertainty.
Right.
Affordability is a big thing I'm always talking about. Anything that you're saying to your clients currently about either is it the right time to list or should I be out there buying right now? Like what's your message to any viewers or clients that you might have watching?
And that's a good question. It all comes down, in my perspective, to what's your situation. Let's unpack your situation. Anytime someone's buying, even when the market's appreciating at crazy numbers like 30 and 40% in 22, it's not an ATM machine. It's an investment. And really, should I rent or should I buy? If you rent, could you save a little bit and invest that money? Sure, if you're really that person who's that disciplined. Right. However, what we find is that families do better in homes, people do better in homes. And when you can make the discipline of saying, I'm going to buy a home and I'm going to have that payment with me for 30 years and I'm going to adjust my life accordingly, it actually brings stability and it brings a lot of value later on to that family dynamic, whether you're single or a full family. And it really, it streamlines kind of your goal set and holds you accountable, right? Without someone banging you over the head. So I strongly believe in home ownership, and there's also a time to rent. There's a time to buy. There's a time to sell. And really each family, what are your circumstances and how can we best serve you?
I love that. And one question I've got, we do have a number of people, and I think your journey with being on a team is huge. And I was the same thing on the mortgage side on a team. And then I had to bet on myself and go out, and it's like that scary time where you don't have that lead source or the team stability. How did you make the choice to kind of bet on yourself and go out? Was that your wife and I just saying, your wife and you saying it's time, or I'm ready, or you had a referral source that was just how did you make that choice?
I didn't have a referral source. No, it was the numbers. I was producing enough on that team. I was the highest producer on the team at the time. And I just said, the team had a certain leverage structure. And I said, either change your leverage or I'll change my deal flow. And so, for me, I really liked my team leader. I really appreciated everything they had poured into me. And it came down to the numbers and what I believed I could pursue.
The return on time had to make sense, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Right? And if I truly came there for no glass ceiling, then all I was doing was becoming an employee and creating a glass ceiling.
For sure.
So I had to be true to myself. I think that's just, for anybody who's either starting or continuing, why are you starting? What is it that your goal is? And a lot of people, I think there's that, the one thing, and there's know your why, and those can ebb and flow. However, knowing kind of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish goes a long ways in those days that you don't want to get out of bed and do the work, right?
I love that.
So yeah, I think that was it.
Such good advice. You've been an awesome guest, Ryan. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Till the next one. Thank you, guys.